Thank you so much for being here. What is your Twitter bio?
My Twitter bio is VC at FinTech Collective's DeFi Fund, founding team at Boys Club, cyborg, and ex-jeweler.
Nice.
Okay, Parker, you have 15 seconds. Define real-world assets for us as simply as you possibly can.
Okay. A real-world asset in crypto terms is a representation of an asset that exists in the real world on-chain. So it's a tokenized representation of an asset that exists in the real world.
Excellent job.
Thank you.
Okay, why tokenization
Why is it important?
Yeah.
for real world assets?
Good question. So in this, maybe it'd be helpful for me to also kind of answer like why now?
Yeah.
So the tokenization of real world assets, particularly in finance, is really helpful for enhancing everything from security to transparency, to actually enabling a more efficient means and mechanisms of transferring assets. It allows different entities and investors and partners to better track and validate in real time where assets are, who owns them, and what the state of those assets are. It also removes a lot of the inefficiencies that currently exist in our banking system and in the traditional financial system today. I think particularly in crypto, it's a lot about timing. And right now we're seeing that off-chain yields are higher than yields in DeFi. We're also seeing a maturation and real battle testing of infrastructure in the space, development of new wallets, and also the development of new infrastructure and technology such as Mauve, which was recently launched by Violet, that enables investors to trade assets in a compliant manner with privacy and ensured with everything from KYC to AML, which is important for the unique needs and unique requirements of institutions. At the same time, just to sort of contextualize all of that, I think right now we're witnessing a real reckoning with the inefficiencies and honestly existential threats of the dependencies that exist in our traditional banking system. We saw this earlier this year with the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, and then with the subsequent collapse of a handful of regional and local banks. And so I think we're really entering a time where people are recognizing that severe and existential dependencies exist in the banking system that we've taken for granted. And so with that, there's coming into more focus a recognition of a need for a more transparent and more autonomous and trustless system.
She's bullish.
Nice.
She's
Watch
bullish.
out, banks. Parker's on your case. I love that. Okay, moving on to kind of pivoting into a new section of this interview. What's your hottest take on real world assets?
Great question. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm very into DAOs. With that being said, I'm a big believer that not everything should be a DAO, and in fact, many things should not be a DAO. I think the same goes for real world assets. I want to emphasize that I think experimentation is really important, and we're seeing a lot of exciting experimentation with bringing different kinds of real world assets on chain today. But I do think in order to move this space forward in a legitimate way that actually provides utility for people, we need to be really thoughtful about what those assets are. And I think starting with assets that inherently inherently are more stable and less volatile is going to be really important in actually taking strides in this space. I think we're about 5 years into some of these initiatives. I do think it's going to be a much longer road, but I think it's really important for us to critically think about what assets we're trying to tokenize and why, and who they're serving before we just try to tokenize every asset and bring it on chain.
Great.
Nice.
Love it. Okay. So we have a little bit of a game for
Great.
you.
Love a game.
If you had 10 seconds, can you name as many real world assets as you can? Ready?
Yes.
Go.
Equities, debt, T-bills, real estate, motor vehicles,
Nice.
home ownership, startup shares. Okay.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
The record was 9. You got to 7, but very powerful.
Very good.
powerful
very
result.
Strong. Very strong result.
Very strong. Okay. A little bit of a word association game. When I say regulation, you say
Policymakers.
more.
Regulation is being driven by our policymakers. And I think it's really important that the public has a voice in that. How to actually do that, I'm not sure I have, a completely formed and concrete answer on. While, in my personal life and at heart, I am a libertarian and very anti-regulation.
Coming clean here on the pod.
I do think regulation is necessarily important. And I think one of the biggest barriers that's actually holding the real world asset space back and the crypto space back today is the lack of clear regulation and the lack of urgency around the initiative to create clear regulation. I think this is a really big loss for America, to be quite frank. I think right now, even right before COVID, we sort of entered this U.S.-China trade war. Geopolitical tensions are only increasing, by the month, and we're seeing this reflected in the way that corporations, in the way that incumbents and asset managers like Sequoia are creating divisions even within their firms to serve different geopolitical markets. And so I think it's more important than ever for America to stay competitive, to embrace regulation. What we're seeing now is that entrepreneurs, the people that are actually, generating net good for our economy, for our children, for our society, for our businesses, are leaving America because they know that America is not supportive of their endeavors and that other places are. Japan is way more advanced than America on regulation in crypto. So is Singapore. So is London. So the UK. And we're really seeing, a net loss for America in so many ways, in innovation. And that trickles down to everything from our economy to the technology and resources that will be available for our children in 10 years. So there are, severe implications of the way that we choose to move forward today in America with regulation and crypto. And I do, think it's very important that we protect retail investors, that we protect institutional investors, that we're very thoughtful around the kinds of, transactions and operations that we allow in America today. But I also think with that, we need to be embracing experimentation, embracing innovation, even just starting with smaller, more moderated things like sandboxes, which we saw was very successful in the UK, is a good first step.
Go off.
Go off, Parker. I just saw a vision of you 10 years in the future running for office, and I was like, here we are. We're on Parker's campaign trail.
Thank you so much, Parker.
Thank
Parker.
you.
This is
So
amazing.
nice having you.